Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Smokin Tobacco Show. I am Matt Tobacco from SmokinTobacco.com. I am joined with Smokin Nicole, and this week we have a very special guest with us. It's William Cooper from Cigar Coop. What's up, Coop?
Matt, Nicole, thanks for having me on. I guess formally, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And thanks for the opportunity here.
Absolutely.
You're welcome.
Thank you for coming on. This is exciting. As I was saying, just kind of right before we were getting set up, I was trying to think, and if I skipped over anyone, I'm sorry, but we've had a lot of people on. I think the only other fellow cigar podcaster I've had on was David Garofalo. So this is gonna be fun because we got Coop on here with us. This is gonna be good. The energy on this show is gonna be fun. I've been looking forward to this for the last couple of weeks since I knew you were coming on. It's gonna be good.
I really have too, and the shows you guys have been doing. I mean, especially the December run of shows you had. It was just great. It's great cigar media. We've needed the Smokin Tabacco brand. I think cigar media has needed something like the Smokin Tabacco brand. I'm not just saying that because we've become friends, but I really mean that. Because there's directions I'm seeing in the media right now that I haven't been happy with, and this is one we should be getting very excited about what you guys are doing, and I hope folks are.
Well, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Kind words. We work really hard at what we do, and we want to put out a good show. We want to put out a good product. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I know you're a busy guy. I know you got your own shows. You do multiple shows a week. So thank you for fitting us in.
No problem. No problem.
So again, thank you. That was awesome. And like I said, I'm excited for this. We're gonna have a lot of fun, and we definitely have a lot of questions we're gonna ask you. We're going to talk cigars. We're going to talk a little outside of cigars. John Carney is not with us this week. So John has the Hacking Gourmet special with our friends at McAuliffe Cigars for their off-the-record show that they do, which will be after this show. And
At
so
8
he's not
p.m.
with us.
At
8 p.m. Eastern.
Yep.
So might be a little overlap. But so that's where he is. But we got Coop with us tonight, so this is going to be awesome. So I'm going to dive right into this. You've been in the cigar media for, I want to say, close to 10 years now?
Just a little over 10 years.
Yeah.
We had our 10-year anniversary in August.
Wow. So before you were in media, I assume you were just a regular cigar smoker, and then you kind of decided to evolve into the industry a little bit more.
Yeah, this is what happened. I was an occasional cigar smoker. In 2006, I started working in New York City, and the guy who I was teamed up with on my sales team was a cigar guy. He liked to go to cigar lounges. I've always been tolerant of smoke because I come from a family of smokers, so cigar smoke never bothered me. So I started going along with him for the rides on these things, and then eventually I started hanging out at the lounge and smoking. Right, it was kind of the what happened, but I was trying to get out of New York and New Jersey around that time because it was like a 2-hour commute I had into New York. It just wasn't a good lifestyle to have. I had 4 kids. 2 of them were under the age of 7. It wasn't a good thing. So I had an opportunity to move to Charlotte, North Carolina. Now it was a little different. Charlotte's just not New York City. It's a very different thing. And what I started doing is I started really there were a lot more in the way of cigar events in Charlotte than there were in New York, it seemed like. So I started going to these events, and then just my personality was, to learn more. Ultimately, it led to me building a relationship with a retailer. I helped him out with some business development. He asked me to help him do buying at the 2010 trade show. I went to the 2010 trade show, covered it, and that's how Cigar Coop was born.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, while I was buying, I covered my experience of this wow factor of being at the trade show.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and the first time you go to one of those, I can imagine it's just the excitement. You get used to stuff like that. You go every year, you get used to it. But the first year or two, it's like, wow, I'm here. Everyone's here. Look around. It's all here. It's like Disneyland.
It's exactly, and I love seeing the first look at someone on a trade show floor for the first time. So Bear Duplessis, who's one of the members of the Coop team, he went to the first trade show a couple years ago, and just looking at his face, going in awe. It's something I love to see. I love to see that
Like,
first reaction. Yeah. So
I know.
yeah, you're
Like
gonna be wow.
that's what I
And then
picture.
in a few days, you're like, all right, it
Yeah.
really will change. But the initial reaction is priceless.
The
the
yeah, I mean
yeah,
that's
I mean that's
that's
and that's
awesome.
awesome. And
You know,
you know,
I got
I
into
got into the industry a few years ago, for different reasons, mostly just because my last name happens to be Tobacco, and I decided to run with it. And now here we are. So I guess we all have our reasons for getting in the industry, but that's awesome. You know, it's something that if you're gonna do, you gotta have passion. It sounds like you already into cigars. You already had the passion. You knew you could do it. It just kind of worked out that way, and now here you are, and you've already built yourself a very nice little, you know, uh, business of you have your show, you have your website, you have your reputation, your name. A lot of people know who you are. You've done a really nice job. You know, you're someone that before I was anybody, I was just following cigar people. You're one of the first people I followed, and I would see the stuff you put online. I'd read your stuff that you'd write, and that's how I just became familiar with you naturally. And you've always been one of my regular go-to people for information. Kind of before I started getting on to, my own inside information and stuff as well. So yeah, no, I've been wanting to have you on the show, and so this is sorry, I lost my train of thought here.
Here he is.
I know.
I know. This happens. I have like
You have your show notes.
You know what it is?
You
You know what it
know what it
is?
is?
I had
I
all
had
these
all
things
these
that I
things that I
wanted to say to you,
and then
all
of it just kind of went here
Right.
at once, and I'm like, shit.
It happens all the time with me. So yeah.
Also, I'm used to Carney being on here, and he usually kind of, he'll jump in and run with something for 5 minutes, and now I'm just like, I got to do all the thinking. So, bear with me. This is not one of my finer moments.
No, it's okay. We've all been there, so don't worry about it.
The fun thing though is, you do a lot more reviews than we do. Obviously, we've done some reviews. I've done them more just kind of for, I don't want to say for fun, but I've done them. I used to do the Ashles podcast. We'd smoke a cigar, and after 40 minutes, we'd give it a rating, which is it's kind of tough to do because you really should smoke a few of them before you really review. And we can kind of get into the whole review process. I'm gonna pick your brain on that a little bit, but I like I said, I've played with it a little bit. It's just not something that I kind of want to focus my energy on right now. Maybe down the road I'll get more serious into reviewing. Right now I'm kind of in an early stage where I'm trying to get a lot of other things going, and obviously I work during the day too, so my time is tough to just be reviewing a lot of cigars. So, but you do a lot of reviews, and your reviews I always enjoy, and I like reading your reviews. There's other people who obviously do reviews in the industry, and they cigar reviews and whatever, and they do cigars of the year, but I've always liked yours. I've always felt like yours aren't as, how do I say this without getting myself in trouble later? I feel like your reviews are a little bit more genuine, if that makes sense.
Right. Okay.
If you know where I'm going.
Yeah.
So I've always liked that.
I appreciate that. I've tried to take myself out of the equation when I write a review. Not that I'm not trying to give my opinion, because it's very important that you give your opinion. But sometimes I think some of the reviews out there, and this is what I was seeing very early on, was more about, hey, I hung out with this rep and he gave me this cigar and it was great. And, and I was like, that's not what I was looking for. And then there was the aficionado way where it was just like, they gave me a couple of little bullet points and I'm like, I need more than that, right? Like, so I kind of, that's how I kind of found my style, which it's also very, some people can say it's boring, right? Because I don't have those types of things, or it's long-winded, but it's something that people have connected with, so I'm not changing it, is what I'll say.
Now, when you do a review on a cigar, I know, like, Half Wheel will always post like all the stuff. They go, oh, well, 3 cigars were smoked, all cigars were bought, or whatever. When you do a review, how many cigars do you smoke for a review?
Typically, it's 3. And the process works like this. The cigars come in. they go through an incubation period in the humidor for at least 21 days. So if you're sending me cigars, you ain't getting a review any quicker than 21 days. Because I want to make sure it's under, I want to eliminate all those factors and I put it on, it stabilize the cigar into what I think are stable conditions. The first one is smoked and it's not scored. I just kind of get initial impressions on it. It's the second and the third one that I go and score, and I may not come back to that second or third one for a little while.
So in a sense, you'll smoke the first one, just kind of feel it, just smoke it without a lot of criticism, just kind of okay, get a feel for it. Then take a break from that, come back to it later and do 2 and 3, where you can really sit down and think about everything that's going on in your smoke session.
Right. So I kind of look at it like this. The reality is when you're buying a box of cigars or a 5-pack, you're not going to sit down and smoke that 5-pack in one setting, right? The idea is you're going to, if you buy a box, you're going to have it for a little while. So I'm very much, and this is reflected on the cigar of the year list as well, I'm all about performance over a period of time with a cigar and to see how it performs over a period of time.
So in a sense, when you do a review, you're almost trying to make it a little bit more realistic by spreading them out, because you're not always going to chain smoke them when you buy them.
Right. Yeah. Exactly the way I'm going to do it. So it takes, there are guys out there, the cigar comes into their shop, they get it that day, they have the review out by the end of the day. And that's what they do. Yeah. And I don't think that's the right way to do it. But at the same time, I think that's where every reviewer is going to have a style. And ultimately, audience members are probably going to be comfortable with some reviewers over others. And that's totally fine. I kind of, like I said, like to simulate a little more realism with it. As a result, my reviews take longer to get to market than most people. So, and that wasn't always like that. That evolved over time as I was just trying to look at what the process needed to be for a review.
Well, I applaud you because, one, you're taking a lot of the biases out of it, for one. But my question for you is, how over time did you develop your palate to do reviews? I'm a newer cigar smoker myself. I always talk about this. And I'm trying to educate my palate on different tastes. So how did you kind of educate yourself to really pick up all of these notes and things when you were first getting into reviewing?
Okay, so I'll say this with what I'm about to say. I'm saying with respect, not criticism. If you're going to read Charlie Minato's reviews or Cigar Authority's reviews on flavor notes, don't develop your palate like that, because that's a very hard way to do it. What I've learned is start with the simple, and I've kind of gotten this from a Hanky Kellner tasting session. Learn how to just identify if the cigar is sweet, if it's spicy, if it's salty, bitter, and then iterate to the second thing. Is as you start getting more familiar with those notes, then you can get a little more specific. If it's spicy, is it a peppery type of spice? Is it more of a maybe it's a cedar-like spice or baker's spice? The sweetness, is it citrus? Is it a chocolatey note? You refine it that way. I made the mistake early on of trying to identify marshmallow fluff and things like that on a cigar, which was a big mistake.
Like a Mr. Jonathan.
But in defense of those guys, they've been doing it a long time, is what I'm saying. But I think if you try to go that way, ultimately you're not going to have a really good review. You're not really developing a palate. But if you start with the fundamental basics of taste, and then kind of iterate it through over time, I think then as you're smoking, you'll see your palate develop, and you'll be able, I remember once there was a cigar, after a while, the sweetness tasted like Pez candy. And I was positive. I felt comfortable saying the Pez candy because I've smoked enough of it. If I tried saying Pez candy early on, I mean, I took some grief for that already, but you say it early on. How realistic is that if you haven't had them?
At least you had more confidence when you said it.
Yeah. Exactly. I had a little more confidence with that. But we all pull out that crazy. We all pull out that crazy flavor note. So, like I said, I'm not criticizing them, but they have probably been doing it a lot longer, and that would be the way I wouldn't start, is what I'm saying.
I think Jonathan, Mr. Jonathan from Cigar Authority, I believe a term he used one time was cinnamon Chinese pea pods. I don't remember what the cigar was, but
I think I've heard them say it a few times. Cinnamon Chinese pea pod. I've never gotten Chinese pea pod on a cigar or taco meats. The one they pick on Charlie about is taco meat all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'll never criticize someone for saying that if that's their interpretation and that's what they're trying to give to their audience, and they're confident with it, then do it. Is what I'm saying. But I wouldn't try to get that extreme up front if you're trying to develop your palate.
Yeah, I mean, everyone, I guess, does it their own way.
Yeah.
Everyone, and every
Yeah.
palate is unique. No one has the same palate. And I was actually talking with David Garofalo about this. I want to say like a few weeks ago. He was reading one of the books. I can't remember all of the details, but he was reading something, and he was reading about palates and identifying palates and how to find certain flavors and notes. And remember him saying, like, after he read this and he started smoking up and he started to really think about it, he was able to kind of like unlock his palate. And that's when he told me about that some people have super palates, where they're like super tasters. They can taste more things than most other people can.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
he was like, I'm like a super taster. He's like, I can taste everything. Apparently, I found out, which is, I mean, especially in the cigar, you're talking about cigars and stuff. That's a nice quality to have. So
Yeah.
it's all about kind of just learning how to use it, so to speak.
Yeah, and there's 3 really good tasting seminars that I've been to. Henke Kellner's Davidoff one, which I think Klaus Kellner is now running those. And I know he is because he's did one. Jose Blanco's and Michael Herklots is the 3rd one. And they're all different, and they'll all bring a different perspective to it. There's 3 different ways they approach it, and I found those 3. I haven't been to the Michael one, but I've seen a recording of one, so I know how good it is.
I think Michael's watching with us right now. We actually, you know what? Since you bring it up, why don't we hit our news segment for the week? I want to hit this really quick. We have some interesting news.
Yeah.
Our news segment is brought to you by McAuliffe Cigars, our friends at McAuliffe. Nicole and I are ambassadors. If you're not an ambassador, sign up today. Get the tasting passport pack and work your way through your passport. Fill it out, send it back in. Be an official ambassador. McAuliffe Cigars. So. One of the biggest things, I think probably the biggest thing so far this year, is going to be the news that Michael released today about his new company.
Right.
I got the news from you. I'll be honest. That's where I was at work, and I think it was at lunch or something, and I was going through, and
we're not on his press release yet, so we didn't get it.
We're not on the press release yet. Hopefully we can get on there soon. But and I hope I'm saying it right. One thing you'll learn about me, I'm really tough with pronunciation that's not in English. Is it Ferio Tego?
Ferio Tego, yeah.
Yes. Which is
yeah.
And from what I understand, he has retained the rights to some of the names from the Nat Sherman lines, like Timeless, Metropolitan, and those will be re-released in a sense under his new brand. And the blends will be the same, as well as he's going to introduce some new stuff as well.
Yes. So what happened is, if you've noticed the last couple of years at Nat Sherman, they started rebranding the products a bit. And there's a lot of reasons for that, namely because Nat Sherman's used on cigarettes, right? And I'm not going to try to explain all that because that's probably a little beyond me. But they started focusing on making the brand standalone, Timeless, Polka, Metropolitan, right? So there were these, and they started, but these have always been Nat Sherman brands. They just didn't have that on it. But ultimately, when Altria made the decision, they tried to sell it, they couldn't sell it. When they made the decision to sunset it, they still retained ownership of those brand names. And in fact, I asked Michael when he was on my show in December, hey, isn't it possible that someone can get that, right? Because I'm like, there's no reason why no one would try to get it.
Right.
What happened is there was an opportunity for him to get those brand names presented to him. And he definitely wanted to stay in the cigar industry. It was clear from the interview we had, even though I was still wondering yes or no. So he was able to acquire those brand names. And the only difference it's going to be is he's going to still have the relationships with the factories, the Casado and the Plasencias. But instead of saying for Nat Sherman International, it's going to say for Ferio Tego.
Right.
But it's going to be, I think it's look, Michael became synonymous with that brand it was the Sherman family. Then we saw Michael become kind of like an honorary member of the Sherman family, which really did. And he really became the face of that brand. He was a great representative and steward of that brand. I think if anyone was a Nat Sherman smoker and they wanted to see the best scenario and home for those brands, they got it today because Michael's going to continue that legacy now, kind of as that honorary Sherman, kind of as that steward of the brand. And I think people are going to be very comfortable because we know he's going to respect that. And that's a very respected brand. We saw the way he shut it down with such dignity, and he had to do that. But now we're going to see him kind of build it back up again. So I think this was, let me tell you, this was such a big story on Coop that my IT guy said, hey, you know, the load balances kicked in. And that's something when you got a lot of traffic, right?
Right.
It's only happened once before when we didn't have load balances, and that's when they canceled. That's when CigarCon got canceled. And we did have an early jump on the story, which helped in this case. So, you know, we worked on that. So it was, like I said, it's a great day if you're a cigar enthusiast and a Nat Sherman fan, because these brands are going to have life and more.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm excited.
And I love.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say I love the name because it's actually his family coat of arms. And if he's still listening, I looked it up, the meaning of it, and it's supposed to say I strike and I dispose of. And you can correct me if that's not correct, but I love that it's his family, you know, it's his family kind of name, and he's taking this on since he was with the company for so long.
Well,
Yeah,
well,
Amy,
well, oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Coop.
No, go ahead. I'm done.
I was just gonna say we can ask Michael because I believe Michael is going to be on the show with us in February. So we'll definitely get the lowdown on that episode. We can ask him all those questions. But yeah, I was excited when I saw it. I had a few conversations with some people. I was never like a huge Nat Sherman guy, but I liked Nat Sherman, especially the Timeless. The Timeless was like one of my favorites to smoke, and I bought a bunch of it at my local retailer, you know, a few months ago, you know, when the news came out, and I stocked up on some Timeless because I was like, oh, I gotta grab some. I had a little bit of the panic buy, and so I got a bunch of Timeless, and when I saw this, I'm like, oh, this is actually gonna be really exciting, and I'm really interested to see where it goes, and I also want to touch on what you said of how you liked how he kind of closed up Nat Sherman, and especially like the townhouse. And, you know, I followed him along on social media as he did all of that in his videos that he made, like especially like the last day when all the stock was gone and they closed the townhouse. Just such a nice send-off. It was real classy. It was really nice, real professional, a lot of respect. That's a brand that's been around longer than both of us. I wanted to touch on that because I liked that as well. It was done really nice.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and I grew up in New York. My dad went to Nat Sherman the first time. He told me he was 7 years old. So he was very well familiar with the brand.
Right.
He'd been going there for years. I think my favorite story is when Nat Sherman got Cigar of the Year from me in 2014 for the Joel Sherman 75th. They had a shelf talker in the store, and my dad was in the store and he saw it, and he knew what I was doing with Cigar Coop, but he didn't really know what I was doing. You know, he was like, I kind of located. He's like, "What the heck, kid?" He's like, "You gave these guys, you have a Cigar of the Year? They have a." He was like thrilled, like, and then the same the guys from Dojo gave the Apoca the Cigar of the Year, and he saw that one too.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, I got it right. I said that one's good, but I got it right. It's what I said. So. Yeah. So I mean, it's Nat Sherman has been very much a part of me growing up in New York, and I miss that. That's the one thing I do miss.
Yeah, I wanted to get to the townhouse before it closed earlier this year. I unfortunately I just wasn't able to make that work. So it's a little disappointing, but you know, such is life, as Nicole says a lot. So there'll be other things though, and I'm excited to see where Michael goes from here now, with this new company. I'm really excited. I feel like also there's something I want to touch on too. I know that there was a lot of retailers that when Altria acquired Nat Sherman were very skeptical about having that company in their stores, even though it's still Nat Sherman. It's being occupied by someone else. And I know some retailers had a problem with that because they were worried about how maybe it would affect them, or maybe they didn't want to work with a company that big. And I feel like, and it's unfortunate for Nat Sherman because, you know, obviously they lost business, but now these people who maybe were Nat Sherman supporters who didn't want to work with the big tobacco company, now Michael's coming in with a new company with a lot of the same Nat Sherman stuff plus more, and now it's like a new opportunity to sell those cigars in their shop again.
It's a total new opportunity. Now it's Michael's company and his partner Brandon Scott. So I mean, it's their company. They come from Legacy Nat Sherman.
Yep.
Michael's reputation in this industry, I don't think anyone would question it. And he's had some, a couple of years ago with that whole the whole comments to the FDA. I mean, he weathered some big storms and he's got some scars there. But I think people saw what he did over the years, restoring a lot of pride to Nat Sherman, fixing the distribution issues, producing great blends. I think Michael's a person people will want to do business with. This is a great. This probably is the best case scenario that could have happened for those brands.
Yeah, I like I said, I think this is going to be great, and I anticipate my prediction. These cigars first get on shelves. A lot of people are going to rush out. There's going to be a big demand for this. This is going to be.
And here's the interesting: Ferrier-Tago's brand is going to come out first before they bring back the other Nat Shermans,
right?
Because they sold all their inventory. That cigar, I'm telling you, people are gonna go crazy to get that cigar. That's gonna be. It's already on my list as an anticipated blend for this year. I can imagine a lot of people are gonna be thrilled when that cigar comes out. So it's gonna be an exciting year for Mike for sure.
I know we're going to be running, but I think so far this is the best news to come out of 2021. So far, it's 6 days in.
It started out great today, at least. Things changed, unfortunately.
It's gonna.
But yeah, I mean, as a cigar fan, this was a great day to be a cigar enthusiast.
And it's going to be hard to top it, for sure.
I already got my first of the top 12 stories for next year, day 6. So that means I only have 11 more to go, is what I said.
So one other thing we'll hit on, since we have Coop with us, Cigar Coop has announced that their number one cigar of the year was the American Toro from J.C. Newman. I was a little excited when I saw that you gave that number one. I was also excited when I saw that you gave the La Flor Dominicana Lito Gomez small batch number 2. Because even number 2, I mean, it's not number 1, but it's number 2. I mean, that's up there. So I was excited because I'm a big LFD guy. Not just because John's on the show. I feel like I have to say this every time it comes up.
No, you don't.
I do like LFD.
I know you do, yeah.
That's a great cigar. And I was excited that was up there too. So I think those were some nice choices. I really do.
Thank you. And, thank you. The American was a cigar. It actually, because I use a bigger window than a calendar year. Because, again, it's that idea of performance throughout the year. And then if a cigar is released in December, how does that compare to a cigar that's been out all year, right? That's why I'm very anti-December, like last-minute cigars making a list, right? So I assessed the point. Now, when the American came out, it probably, if I reviewed it, it probably wouldn't have even been in my top 20. I'll be completely straight. But that cigar aged fantastic over time, and it just kept checking the boxes and just it was the highest ranked cigar. There were 4 really highly ranked cigars, and that one held the highest rank from the final round in the final rounds is what I'll say. So it's the story of that cigar is incredible, okay, but what they delivered was even more incredible. And again with the Florida wrapper that Jeff's growing on that thing. And here's the other thing I'll say about the Newmans, and I know you spoke a lot of J.C. Newman, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Nope, I do.
They never, I mean, even when, look, let's just say, they take their time getting the product to market. Now, I did say the American needed to age. By no means was it a bad cigar when it came out. I want to make that clear.
Right.
But the Newmans take their time. If they do not think that cigar is ready, they don't release it. Look how long Black Diamond took to come out. 4 years we waited for Black Diamond. This one we had to wait 3 years because they actually announced it around 2016 trade show.
Right.
They take their time. This is what I love in a cigar company doing it. Like I said, it was the best cigar this year. And there was some. I didn't think it was a great year for cigars, but the ones that were on my list, I feel were really, really good cigars this year. So it was the best. It showcased the best, in my opinion.
Yeah, I do smoke a lot of J.C. Newman. One cigar, probably my favorite is the Julius Caesar. I love that. I love that cigar.
I think it's an underrated brand too in the portfolio. I agree.
I think that cigar is well balanced, plenty of flavor. It burns well. The construction is the quality of it is just, flavor and burn aside, just the quality of that cigar when you first pull it out of the box, you take the cellophane off. That is a beautiful looking cigar. That is a really nice.
But that American cigar, Jeff Borschwitz actually talked about that when he was on our holiday episode, and he had done a sampler pack which had those. I think it had some Florida Sun-Grown, I want to say, in it, and then it had some bourbon as well. And since he talked about it, I haven't smoked one yet, but I've been wanting to try it so bad. And then you rated it #1, and I'm like, I have to order some. I have so much stuff in my humidor, but it's getting bought. Just so you know.
I'm very Vitola based, so I go each Vitola. I do think this smokes better in the longer, fatter ring ages. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
But there's nothing. They're all great, is what I'm saying. But it was the Toro size that landed, and those sampler packs that Jeff is putting together at Corona. They're some of the best. I mean, there's some great value you get with those. I mean, they have. I'm not a big spirits guy, but I've learned a lot about spirits because Jeff hosts those shows with my partner Aaron Loomis, who does the Primetime Show. He hosts like they do the spirit shows and they have spirits guests on. So I've learned a lot. And I'll say this, they nail it on every pairing. And I think pairings sometimes are a little overrated. I'm not saying they're not, but man, I get it every time with their pairing. It's fantastic.
Yeah, we were just looking at. I was actually just on Corona today. I was looking at some stuff that I was looking for, and it reminded me when he was on. I was like, yeah, there's so many good things that he showed us. That episode was a fun one. He had such an amazing spread of the entry level all the way up to the high end stuff and everything in between. He talked about bourbon and pairings, and he covered all the bases, and I really liked that. I just wanted to give him another little shout out for that. I thought that was really awesome, and we appreciate him. We appreciate him coming on the show. But yeah, no, I agree. I think he does a really good job with that.
He does, and if you get to the Drew State Barn Smoker ever, if they have it back, hopefully they should. You must go to that farm. And Jeff, it's an amazing experience you'll have there, seeing that farm.
Yeah, there's so many, and you and I have talked off the air too. There's so many events that, we plan to go to, we want to go to. Obviously, things are a little restricted right now. We talked about, what our game plan is for the next round of potential trade shows today. So much stuff to get to. Which actually, you know what? Let me ask you this question. So, what's your thoughts on TPE 2021? You think that still happens in May? You think that gets pushed out again?
My guts tell me it's going to get pushed out. Yeah. We're getting into here's how I'm looking at it. That's May. Now we go 90 days. We're into February. I think they're going to look, you tell. I don't think. I mean, things are bad right now. I don't see this turning around by February.
Yeah. So I don't either.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, is what I'll just say. But we might not have TPE this year.
I know John and I have talked about this too. It's tough. When they moved that up to May, the first thing that John had said to me when I first brought that up, he's like, well, look at it this way. Now in less than 60 days, you have PCA.
Yeah.
Also in Las Vegas. So inside of 2 months, you're going to have 2 major trade shows in Las Vegas. A lot of people are not going to want to fly out there twice in 2 months to do a trade show. So does that get moved? A lot of other questions now come into play.
Yeah.
So not only are you looking at TPE, you're also looking at, well, does the formerly known as IPCPR still happen on time? Regardless of the conditions of the world. Let's say by May 1st, coronavirus, let's just pretend, let's play the hypothetical. Coronavirus is like the thing of the past. We can laugh about it now. TPE goes off. Even still, do you think PCA still runs their show on time, or do you think by then they would even move that out a little bit further again?
Could be tough for them to move that into the fall, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to try.
Yeah.
if they don't have a trade show 2 years in a row, you got to remember the revenues they collected for the trade show last year got pushed to this year now. So there's a loss of revenue already for one trade show.
Right.
Imagine now if you have two sources of revenue, that's their main source of funding. It's a serious problem. They have to get this trade show off somehow. I mean, they can go virtual. It's not going to solve the problems. And
No.
I'm not going to name names. I've talked to people in the media, right? And look, I paid my media dues for 2021 already. I said, look, I'm going to support the organization. But the media, I mean, so if media guys are on the fence, I'm sure some retailers are on the fence right now. So this is going to be something to really watch. And I mean, we really got to hope these trade shows come off and that that they're not held under conditions that are unsafe for anybody. And I don't think I think both trade organizations will do the right thing there, in terms of safety. So I'm not worried about that.
Right. Yeah, I know it's been a topic of conversation, as you know, even stemming all the way back to last year.
Yeah,
Are we
the
still
trade
gonna
show is
get
the
this
biggest.
done? And
It's the biggest soap opera in the cigar industry. And
oh, it
anyone who
is.
says they don't, let me tell you, trade show stuff, it blows up social media and it blows up the views on Coop and it blows up our views when we have shows about it. It is the biggest story. So don't
People
let
wanna
anyone
know.
tell you otherwise. They want and they love the drama that this trade. I did an article a couple years ago. Bad luck the PCA has had, right? I went through like a 4 or 5 year in a row where they just had these strange things happen. Like there was a norovirus outbreak one year. There was the fire at the trade show opening day. Just things after thing after thing happening to them.
Going into last year's show, before the pandemic even happened, there was drama. There was already people. There was people who weren't even going to go.
Yeah.
And big companies, and we won't mention names, but there was some big names who said, I ain't gonna go. So before the virus even hit, there was already that show was already played.
It was already on. Yeah, there was another one added to the list. Exactly. I remember New Orleans. They booked it for New Orleans, and they put a comprehensive smoking ban, like that restricted smoking across the whole city that year. And they were already booked into New Orleans. What are they going to do? They couldn't move it. It was too late to move it. It's very hard to move a trade show. So I mean, they've had this bad luck streak year after year after year. And I hope something just changes for them on this.
Yeah, it would be nice to at least see somehow all of these shows still follow through. It is good for the industry. We were talking about this before.
We need these shows. We really need these shows. I mean, I know that we can Monday morning quarterback them. We need these shows to happen. It's very important. Both TPE and PCA, we need them both.
Even if like worst case scenario, like in the fall or even later in the fall, if like that was when it was safe to do so, it was just like, all right, you know what? We're going to do like a super event. It'll be like 1 month, 1 week is this show, 1 week is this show, 1 week is this show. Get them all in. It's crazy and it's impractical, but it's like, who knows?
Yeah. No, exactly.
That could be the reality.
Very much true. Very much true. I think, like I said, I think people will take it how they can take it, and I think, like I said, so let's hope it doesn't happen, but if we have to get creative, let's get creative to figure something out too.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Last year, obviously, no one was prepared. It was like, okay, we just cancel and we move on. So things didn't happen. It was the beginning of the virus and all.
But I will say some people got creative. For example, Steve Saka, they did the Smokin Tabacco and Trust experience where they still met with retailers and things like that.
Right.
So some people did do something in lieu of, right? But I feel like not everyone did. So
at the same time,
the trade show itself is an experience that, like Coop was saying, in a previous conversation, it's important when you go, you're in person, you're face to face, you make those connections, you build those relationships. It's not just about looking at what's coming out or getting the information. That stuff is very important, but it's also like you're there, you're talking, you're forming those relationships and connections.
Absolutely,
but it's much different face to face.
Especially like we were talking about this with John. I think was it last week? This business. When we were talking about just the evolution of the show and everything, this is a very face-to-face business, or at least it has been for most of its existence until this year, when that really wasn't an option for most people for a long time. That's when all of the online stuff really entered the cigar world for the first time. because there was no other option. So, but those face-to-face in-person events are still important. I feel like Coop could probably echo that.
I agree.
Just super quick, I'm just saying, if they don't have it again, people do need to get even more creative, and people who didn't participate with that creativity last year need to kind of hop in and figure it out. That's all.
I think Christian Aroa, and to echo what Nicole said, Steve Sockett did do that, and I believe Christian Aroa did that, where he had some special events with retailers across the country. I remember there was a period he was traveling a lot. I know some of the shops around us had it, where they had like a CLE night, and then like it was for the employees only, and Christian came. I think Tom Lazuka was there, and like the area rep was there, and they did a whole portfolio and showing of everything that they had, and they talked about the new year and what they're planning, what everything they would normally do at the trade show, because they had to do something. They had to get in with people and showcase and spread information. So we'll see if the trade shows don't happen, which will be very unfortunate and very disappointing. You have to get creative. You can't just be like, wow, well, we didn't do it this year again. No, you gotta get boots on the ground somehow.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like Drew Estate was very prepared because they weren't going to the trade show, but they were very prepared with their model to engage, and so they they were a little ahead of the game. But some other companies, I'm not gonna name the names on that, you can see how they weren't prepared.
Right.
And it showed. And it showed very, very clearly.
Yeah. Well, aside from trade shows, we've talked a little bit about reviews. We've talked a little bit about the early days and the formation of Cigar Coop. But aside from cigars, if you watch me regularly, obviously I work by day. I'm an electrician in Boston. That's my primary means of income. This is something separate that I love building. But Coop, what is it that you primarily do outside of cigars for work? I know that obviously you've had another career before cigars.
Yeah, I'm a sales executive for a software company, and I've been with this company for about 2.5 years after spending the better part of 23 out of 27 years at IBM.
Wow.
So yeah, I came up through that route. I started out by trade as a computer programmer, and I eventually moved into the sales and account management roles over time. So that's what I do. It's been a very successful career. So I have nothing, I have nothing but great things that I've had about it. So I'm with a very good company right now there. So can't complain about it. And I do keep my work stuff very separate from my cigar stuff, though. So the two world, they know my job knows what I do, though. Trust me.
Oh, mine does too.
I mean, the LinkedIn pages, you can't hide it. But if it came out, it actually came out in a job interview that I was doing radio and stuff like that. So it intrigued them more than anything. So yeah, there's no secrets what I do.
Everyone always assumes, I don't know if you get this, but because when I go to work and I see someone like kind of like knows a little about it and like they just find out, I always get hey, like you do something with cigars, right? Do you have like a store? They always think I'm a retailer, which I mean I guess is understandable. But everyone always like, hey, do you have like a cigar shop? And I'm like, no, I have a media company. And then they always like get confused, like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I do cigar media. It's like news, but for cigars. Like, oh, okay. And then I show them like the show, and they're like, ah.
Yeah, and it actually is a little more of a problem than you think for me. Because what's happened, and again, I'm not criticizing this piece, but it's reality. We've seen a lot of stores build media arms and do a good job with it. Okay,
right.
Cigar Authority, two guys. Cigar Advisor, famous, good examples. Quality media work, but the lines are blurred. So I get once or twice a week a comment on a post. Hey, I'm looking to wholesale, or I'm looking to buy wholesale these cigars and bring them into my store. It's like, no, I don't sell product, right? And in fact, I don't even those comments will never make it on there anymore because I don't want any, because we don't sell. I don't have a tobacco license. I don't sell product.
Right.
So, but I think that's happened because of some of these media lines being blurred over time right now. And it has confused people a little. where they don't know the difference in a lot of cases. And again, I'm not criticizing it. It's that I'm a pure media outlet. They built a very good media arm to extend their business, and that's fine.
Right. No, I mean, I guess I see where you're going with that. It's interesting, I know that there's obviously a difference between kind of like us, where we're more like independent versus, as you said, in very good shows and media and all that. Some of the people you mentioned, but yeah, it's more based off of their retail business, and it's more for promotion, which I get, and it's a good strategy. And
Sure, and the content's excellent. There's nothing, but here's the thing: you and I are in the primary business of media. That's the product we produce, and that's our bottom line.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Yeah.
And it's tough too, because me and you, I feel like there's a lot of people, and I totally get it, and I respect it, and I understand it, and it's not a criticism. I say it with respect. The people who are media, but they also have retail. I don't want to say bias, but it's usually stuff that they carry. So like they won't review or talk about it.
That is biased.
So
yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to be too nice. But the fact of the matter is, there's a little bit of bias there, because they have good content, but they're showing stuff that they sell. But like, if they don't sell, for example, not that no one carries Rocky Patel, but let's say they don't carry Rocky Patel, you're not going to see them smoking Rocky Patel on the show. You're not going to see them advertising Rocky Patel, because they don't sell it.
They don't.
Versus us, we can, because there's no other agenda.
Yeah. Now, Smokin, Abe from Smokin, as KMA Talk Radio, I am a contributor to that. It's not my show; it's their show. Mm-hmm. They've been pretty good about it. You do not have to be in Abe's store to get on the show. You don't have to be into consideration. But he also is not going to promise he's going to bring you into the store either if you get on the show. So, but he'll smoke other products and stuff like that. But he doesn't hide, just like Dave, they don't hide the fact of what they do. They're transparent on that, and I think that's very important. Is if you're going to do that, be transparent on that. And I think all the names I've mentioned, they've been transparent on who they are, and that's fine. And like I said, the product's good, and there's a lot of good material you can get from those things.
Yeah, one thing I will say, I do like a lot of the stuff they do too. I mean, like we said, there's good shows out there, good content. Sometimes I wish there was a little more on certain things, because I'd be curious, and I'm not going to mention any names, but like, for example, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, there's some people that I do watch regularly who I really like, and I like the people on the show, I like their skills and stuff. But I'd be curious to see what they would have to say about certain things that I know they won't do. You know what I mean? So as like a regular viewer, it's like, like, what would they think about this? It's like, well, unless they carry it, it's not going to be on there. So it's like, it's kind of like, it's like disappointing, because it's like, it would probably be good, or I'm really eager to see that, but I probably won't see it. So that's where, like, myself, or especially you, or even like the dojo guys, the dojo show, like, you'll probably see it on there, because it's more open. So I don't know. I guess that's my 2 cents with that. Not that it
there's a lot of regionalization in the cigar industry. So a lot of these smaller brands are still very much regional brands, right? They're trying to become national. There's some like McAuliffe that I think are taking all the steps to become national. And I think they are. But there's some there's some brands that are up in New Hampshire that do really well that you won't even see in the Southeast, or you won't see on the West Coast. So when I see sometimes when a lot of the retailers do their program,
Christoph.
Yeah, Christoph does great in the Northeast. But what I see sometimes is a lot of shows, and I don't want to just say retail shows, but any show, sometimes that where the show is located reflects the regionalization. I think New Hampshire is a different animal, not New Hampshire, but New England's a different animal, because it's such a strong territory that you probably have more brands than most. But a lot of other areas, there's brands you won't hear. You'd be surprised who doesn't hear about a certain brand.
But there are certain things we can't get. I mean, I think Protocol was pretty hard for us to get. I was trying to look for Espinosa recently. That's pretty hard to get locally, anyway. So we run into some walls, but usually it's not bad.
I've had big issues with that myself. So that's been a problem for me as well. So I just like. a lot of times, really the way I get familiar with a brand is I smoke the brand, obviously. But if I don't have access to the brand, it's difficult.
Right.
I'll tell you, I was a little later with McAuliffe because it wasn't until last year when we had our first McAuliffe retailer in Charlotte, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to know them concurrently, and that made it a little easier. But I'd heard all these things about McAuliffe for a long time. And the product wasn't, and like I said, like you guys, we go into a lot of cigar stores. We have to buy something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's only so much disposable income we can throw around before we say, all right, I can go online and get it. You have to kind of manage it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the other tricky part too.
Yeah, I mean, you get to a point where you go into a shop and you see stuff, and it's good stuff, but it's kind of like food. Sometimes you're just in the mood for something specific. Like I'm in the mood for fish tonight. That's what I want. You go to a cigar store and it's like there's good stuff in here, but I'm really in the mood for this, and they don't carry it, and maybe no one carries it in your area. So it's tough because you really want to support the brick and mortar, and it's something I will still preach and I'll still say. And that's where that kind of that temptation to go online comes into play too. Is, well, I can go online and get it, and then you end up doing it. So you go online, you order it, and you get that cigar, but you don't give the business to your local brick and mortar, which I understand, and that's important too. But it's tough because not every retailer can carry everything,
Right.
and no matter how hard they try, not every small brand is going to be in every shop all over the country. It's going to be very regional, like you said. Like Christoph it does really well up here in the Northeast. It's a Rhode Island-based company. But I don't know how far into the rest of the country they go in terms of popularity. Is Christoph down in North Carolina at all?
They're not. You can find them, but you got to go find them.
Right.
It's a brand I wish was popping. And they had my number 2 cigar of the year last year. Glenn and Jared and his team, they do it's fantastic. They just have some great smokes.
Yeah.
So, but I know like Christoph in New England is everywhere.
Right.
I mean that's just one. They're like almost like synonymous with New England. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the Pissed Off Christoph Churchill. It's a strong cigar. I don't know why. I was funny about this cigar. I smoked this one tonight because I was just like all day for some reason. I was just kind of like, you know what? I haven't had is a Christoph, and specifically, I haven't had the Pissed Off Christoph. And for some reason, I was like, I think that's what I really want to smoke tonight. I want a Pissed Off Christoph. I feel like I got to revisit it. I bought a box. I had a couple left, and they've been sitting in the humidor for a while. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I think we're gonna light up Christoph tonight, and I'm excited because like it kind of reminds me of like, oh yeah. And that's the thing with a lot of cigars too. And you probably run into this even more than I do, because you definitely probably smoke more than we smoke a lot, but you probably definitely smoke more than I do. You smoke so many different cigars, and then you get onto your 5 brands, or even just like your 5 individual cigars that are like, oh, these are like the ones I'm really into right now, and you just smoke those all the time, and you forget about stuff that just leaves your mind, stuff that you really enjoy, and it just leaves your mind. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, I forgot I had this, and you pick it up and then you light it and you're like, shit, why don't I smoke this more often? This is so good. You just forget about it. And I feel like that's something you can relate to.
Yeah, and here's the thing, and I'll not to tangent this too much, but Cigar Aficionado takes a lot of criticism over their list, right? Because there's older cigars on the list, right? But this goes back to this idea of cigar performance, and if there's a good year that this cigar has because they had a good crop of tobacco. And sometimes you'll see a cigar, you'll see the same brands up there a lot of times because they consistently perform well, or they've had a really good year. Like the most controversial cigar of the year was the Monty No. 2 a few years ago, right? If anyone smoked a Monty No. 2 in 2013, you would have said it was cigar of the year. If Cuban cigars of your palate, it was smoking incredible.
Right.
And I remember like the Punch Grand Crew made it, I think, a few years ago, and everyone was surprised it was at number 10. But if you smoked that punch that year, which I happened to do, you're gonna say, wow, those cigars were performing really well. So I kind of like what they do is they're looking, okay, what are the cigars that are performing really well this year? And that's sometimes when we get hung up with the reviews, because our reviews are always focused on what's new. Going back to that stuff is equally fun to do. And it's something I encourage people to do, because you're missing out on a whole part of this cigars if you're not doing that. You're 100% right.
That's important to do, because as much as when stuff comes out, we want to get it, try it, cover it, talk about it. The manufacturers, obviously, rightfully so, do because they want to get it out there. They want people to
Yeah.
buy it. It's important for a reviewer or really anyone in media to revisit an existing line that maybe, all right, it's been out for 5 years now and everyone knows about it. You can't always just assume, well, like for example, like let's go like Andalusian Bull. When the Andalusian Bull came out, that one was hot, and I think that cigar performed even better than LFD thought, and got Cigar of the Year 2016 Cigar Aficionado. Everyone knows that Andalusian Bulls are awesome. They can be tricky to find. When they're in stock, you got to grab them. But just because they are that popular doesn't mean you can't revisit them again.
No, you're right.
You know what I mean? I feel like that's important. Especially
Yeah.
cigars are a cigar blend is a blend, but at the same time, the actual specific tobacco in a cigar from 2017 and the same exact cigar the year later could be a little different. It's important to taste it, try it. Maybe you reviewed it when it first came out, and then you let them sit and age for 2 years, and then you try
Yeah.
them again. See how do they age?
Sure, we do that on our show. We have Bear and I do aging experiments. We
Right.
smoke a cigar, we smoke it again
Yep.
in 6 months, we smoke it again in a year, and we compare notes each time we do it. So we're gonna be doing one for 2021 pretty soon, but we haven't picked that cigar. But we've done. I remember we did Steve Saka's Todos Los Dias one year. We did Crown Heads like Carem one year. We just did Foundations, the 142 Tabernacle. So I mean, that is such a fun part of what we do that sometimes gets lost. Is aging your cigars, revisiting those cigars. Don't let them age 5 to 10 years. Is my advice. That's going too far. Because ultimately they'll start to disappoint at that point. But first couple of years you can really have a lot of fun with this stuff.
It's funny you mentioned that because over the weekend I was going through, and I have stuff, and I'm sure you do too. People like us who are really, involved in cigars, we smoke a lot. We have so much stuff, and you have stuff that ends up sitting for a while, and then you find stuff. You even find stuff that's already kind of like old and vintage, and you grab it and it sits there a little longer. I was able to find a bunch of the old Camacho, the Aroa made Camachos at one of my local shops. And the guy was like, "Yeah, we found this box in storage, and we didn't even know we had it. We've had it for a long time. We figured we'd put out and sell it." And so I was like, "All right, well, I'll grab a couple of sticks." And by chance, and I wasn't even really planning this, but by chance, I had like a handful of them, and I grabbed one, and then I grabbed one of the new Davidoff made Camachos. Of today. It was the Liberty 2020 in the blue coffin. And I actually smoked them back to back. And the old Camacho, I want to guess, is at least like a good 14 years old. Judging from what I know about, who had it and whatnot. And surprisingly, it smoked pretty good. Had a lot of flavor. Probably definitely tastes drastically different than when it was brand new. But it was still really enjoyable. I smoked most of that cigar. It was great. And then I smoked the other one after, which was a good cigar. But I honestly was like, I like the older one better. Even with all that age, I like it better.
And then they're different cigars. Davidoff's growing their own tobacco.
Yeah.
That comes from the old Aroa farm. Nothing wrong with Davidoff growing their own tobacco, but it's a different, I know they weren't identical cigars, but the tobaccos are from very different farms, is what I'll probably tell you.
Yeah.
And again, nothing against the Davidoff farm. Davidoff's been the most successful brand over the last 10 years on the Coop list. But the Aroas, they're farmers. Julio Aroa's a farmer at heart, so there's a big difference there.
Yeah, I think that it was a fun smoke. I had another old Camacho. It was an original Liberty series. I think it was like from 2006. I found it at one of my local shops, and it had, the old blue coffin. It was the 1118 Vitola, and had the paper on it. The paper was all yellow, and I found it, and I got excited because I got the geek factor kicked in, and I was like, yeah, I'll take one. And I brought it home, and I sat on it for a while, and I was like, I don't know when to smoke this thing. And a lot of the stuff you get, you're like, when do I smoke it? Do I save it? I don't know. I don't want to just like smoke it on a random Tuesday. But you just have to smoke them eventually. But I was doing the Ashholes podcast last year, and Christian came on the show, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna bring it to the shop today. I'm gonna smoke it. And I smoked it with Christian, and I thought that was cool. But yeah, no, that cigar was good too. That one for some reason definitely tastes like it really dropped off. But this one, I want to say, was around the same age, and it was fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I even go with Padron 64 and 26. The 26s will age incredible. The 64s will go down quicker. So, they're both made by Padron, standard of excellence on both of those, but over time they're going to change. So no two are going to, the experience is always going to be different. And like I said, I love revisiting that. I would have loved to have seen you with Christian. I have to go back and find that show because this Christian I know is into that type of stuff. Like people going back and smoking his old stuff.
I didn't smoke it on the show. I smoked it privately.
Okay, that's okay.
Before the show, like we were just kind of hanging out, and I smoked.
Christian's into that. Christian's into that stuff, though. Yeah.
Yeah, I was showing him. He was like, "Wow." He's like, "Where'd you find that?"
yeah. He's really into that. Yeah.
I was like, "I found it at one of the shops. They had it. I grabbed it." And he was like, "No way."
I just thought of too. We didn't actually ask you what you were smoking tonight, Coop.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
What are you smoking?
All right, so I'm smoking the 2019 cigar of the year. This is the Saga Tomo 6. It's from De Los Reyes Cigars. They're a company that's very much under the radar, but the Reyes family are big growers in the Dominican Republic. So a lot of Dominican companies use Reyes tobacco, grown by Leo Reyes, and this is their own brand, Saga. This was probably the most unknown cigar I ever picked as a number one. And it's an incredible cigar, is what I'll just tell you. It's a San Andreas Mexican over Dominican blend. It's a 58 ring gauge, a 5x58, but smokes fantastic. And these are a year old, and they are holding their age. I just got a new box of these because I'm running out of the old year, the previous year. Great cigar. It was the number one cigar. It surprised a lot of people, but the good news when people tried the cigar, they really liked it.
Right. Yeah, that's always nice to hear too. Especially, you mentioned like an unknown, and it's nice to see when especially when it's like a newer brand too, or an up and coming brand. You have a newer release, a newer cigar, and someone picks it and makes it, especially number one, but even like in a top 5, or even a top 10. It's amazing how much that can really influence people. The way. When people go on, like especially with you, they go, "Oh, Coop gave I've never heard of this, but he gave it number 5. Like I've never heard. What is that?" And then they go and they try it, and then people get that curiosity factor kicks in. It's amazing how those lists do influence a lot of sales too.
It does. This, like I said, last year this cigar was performing so well. You wonder because it was a lesser known brand. Maybe it's not as easy to get. But there was nothing. I mean, last year, every cigar I made the list is a great cigar, but this one was just head and shoulders smoking above everything else. And here's another one. When I reviewed it the first time, it got a 90. When I reviewed it, I actually went back and revisited it. It went up to 93 in like 10 months. So there was a big difference with that cigar. And the funny thing is, everyone when I gave it the 90 who had smoked it said you gave it a too low score. I'm like, well, that's what it came out with, And that was one reason why I went back and revisited it. And again, because I use a 2-year window for eligibility, it was eligible again to try to make the list, and it topped it. So,
I'm trying to. Sorry. I'm not ignoring. I'm looking at my travel humor. I'm like, I'm running low on this cigar. I need something else, but I don't want to light anything big. I'm like, what I had, and I'm like, I don't know. I have like a Cohiba Siglo 2.
I was in a McAuliffe mood today, so I'm smoking the McAuliffe A Churchill, finishing it. But I
started with the fist off first off. Now I'm like, I don't know. I need something else. I might do an Atabey. I haven't decided. Yeah. Let's do an Atabey. Let's do it. Why not?
Now I'm a Brujos fan. That's my favorite size, the Brujos.
Really?
The thicker Robusto.
Yeah. This is the Delirios that I'm gonna smoke.
I like the Delirios too.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Certain sizes I like better than others in the Atabey, but again, that's why I say a cigar company makes a lot of sizes.
Right.
To kind of make people happy. So. And
Nelson definitely makes a lot of sizes in Atabey. And one of my favorite sizes has got to be the Spiritus, the Lancero. I love Lanceros.
Yeah, I've been known as the Lancero hater, right?
Really?
But I had a cigar of the year as a Lancero a few years ago. Actually, my top 2 cigars a few years ago were the Crux Lancero and the Aladino Lancero. So.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
But people say I always kill the Lancero. It's 'cause I'm very particular about a Lancero because what happens with a Lancero is either they have to adjust it from a 38 to a 40 or 42, which now it's not a real Lancero, or they have to pull some of the tobacco out to get it to work. So,
Right.
but when you get a cigar that's blended to a Lancero, and I think Nelson, I want to say I know the factory he works with. I'm sure they're blending to the size. Very, very specific there. I've been to the factory that Nelson uses. It's the Tobacos de Costa Rica.
Yep.
And small factory, but an incredible factory to go see if you're really into this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially
Yeah.
Atabey, Byron, we're huge fans of. We get a lot of it, when we can, and we love it with the Lanceros, the Delirios, the Byron. I love the Byrons especially. I feel like the Byrons are, especially the 21st century line, the black
Oh
line.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow. I'll tell you.
Just sent
good
me that
cigar.
Bellicoso. He just sent me the Bellicoso in the 20th line.
Really?
It's got the blue secondary band, and I'm gonna butcher the name, so I don't want to try to do it. But I'm looking forward to smoking that.
Mm.
Byron. Atabey's great. Byron is even better.
I agree. I agree with that statement. I think that's definitely a fair statement. Byron.
Well, Atabey is a fantastic blend. I mean, it's a fantastic line. I mean, so that's nothing against Atabey.
Atabey still blows a lot of cigars out of the water, but that Byron line, I find Byron's Atabey is like a nice, enjoyable. I want to say like it's a nicer alternative to like a good Davidoff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you want like a premium cigar, like a higher end premium cigar, but then you go to Byron and it's like that's the cigar you smoke when you want some real good tobacco. That's the Byron stuff. Is the Grand Poema is my favorite. Wow, just
it's fantastic.
Takes my breath away.
When you look at guys who aren't necessarily cigar from, they're guys like the Terrence Rileys and the Olivers, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're not tobacco blenders by trade or anything, but look at the job that those two guys have done with the brands they've been associated with. Terrence with first Casada and now Aganorsa Leaf, and Oliver at United. I mean, look at the job Oliver has done at United over the past few years. That brand he's taken it to the next level. There's no question about it. Nelson, because the product was there. They got great product. It's just now a matter of how do we connect this with the consumers and the retailers. And Oliver has done an amazing job in a short amount of time placing that brand. That brand now is everyone knows about that brand pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, especially like the Aganorsa stuff. That's another good one. I mean,
Terrence was the guy they needed.
Yeah.
Terrence, yeah. He was like again. They had the materials. They had the raw materials. They had the blends. They just needed Terrence, and they went out and got him when he was available.
Yeah. That's another brand that I love. That there's very few companies where like almost everything that they make, every line, I love it so much. Not that most companies don't. There's a lot of companies out there where, I like what they make. A lot of the stuff's good, but there's certain companies where it's like everything they make, and that's like Atabey and Byron, Aganorsa Leaf, Casa Fernandez. It's like, oh, you could go through the whole catalog. It's fantastic. Aladino's another one.
Oh,
the whole thing, thing's good. I will say the Cameroon is not a bad cigar, but it didn't wow me. But it wasn't a bad cigar. But everything else, I'm like, wow. It's just, Perdomo is another one. I mean, especially I'm impartial to the sun-grown. Yeah, I mean, I'm impartial to the sun-grown. I mean, I think I have.
My first box was a Lot 23.
Yeah.
Well, Lot 23 Maduro is fantastic.
That was my first box I ever bought. Was that one?
So good.
All the common denominators you mentioned. So I've been to Tobacos de Costa Rica. What they're doing with fermentation, second to none, right? When you see what they're doing with fermentation, they're ahead of the curve in a lot of people. Nick Perdomo, same way. He's ahead of the curve with his whole process, right?
Oh, yeah.
Aganorsa Leaf, again, they are very. I mean, this is where there's nothing wrong with contract brands because you can get some great cigars as a contract brand. But when you're vertically integrated to these levels, and I base technically a contract brand, I guess to some extent, but Nelson's so hands-on with it, is what I'm saying. That's why these products are consistent performers there with these brands.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and again, some people just do it better than others, and it's not just the cigars, it's not just the tobaccos they use, it's the whole thing. It's the whole process.
Nick Perdomo, he spends a whole morning talking about seed agronomy, okay, on his tour.
Right. Yeah.
You're blown away. Like,
I've heard that.
We haven't even gone past the seed yet. And what he's showing things. And I've been on a lot of tours. And I looked at that when I was on the tour earlier this year. I was mind blown what he was doing. And that's why when the product comes to market, that's why you're getting excellent products. And I'm really glad, because Perdomo, I think, was a brand that didn't get a lot of online media attention for a while. And it was a shame. Now they're getting it. They've been a lot more engaged with social media. I think it's helped too. But the product's there. They great products they're making. It's always been there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I do want to hit our sports segment really quickly.
Absolutely.
We got to hit that. That's brought to you by our friends at Nova Cigar, Platinum Nova, make Nova big. Head over to the Nova Cigar website and use our discount code SMKTAB15, and you can save 15% off your next order from Nova Cigar. So we'll talk football. That's mostly what we've been talking about lately.
Okay.
The hockey season's about to start. Basketball just started, but the NFL, we're heading into the playoffs, and the New York Jets have let go of Adam Gase.
What a train wreck that was.
Yeah. We all saw it coming. I feel like.
All right. I saw it coming before everybody else, right? Even when he went to Miami, because Adam Gase was tutored under a guy named John Fox, right? He was John Fox's open. John Fox coached in Charlotte and was an awful football coach. I saw it firsthand, and I don't have a skin in the game with the Panthers. He was a terrible football coach, and anyone who's like being groomed as someone from the John Fox coaching tree, I just have serious doubts about. So I had doubts when he went to Miami. And look, he couldn't do crap with Tannehill. And Tannehill goes to Tennessee and does great. So he just was terrible at a press conference. He seemed disorganized. And it was a mercy killing, because New York will always have a coach in the crosshairs. And this year it was Adam Gase. He made it very easy for them.
And then we had the disappointing end to the Patriots season. Well, I guess it wasn't disappointing. We beat the Jets, but we finished with a losing record for the first time since 2008, I want to say. Or no, I'm sorry.
No, longer than that. 2008.
No, longer than that.
Yeah.
It was 2008 since we missed the playoffs. Longer than that, since we had a losing record, it was a mixed bag of a year. We lost Tom Brady. COVID happened. We picked up Cam Newton, who on paper should have been good. But, the problem is with that is I feel like Brady knew he wasn't coming back. And I feel like he waited to the last minute to sign on and announce and all that. And that was all time lost for both sides, really. But Tom still led the Bucs to the playoffs. But for the Patriots, I mean, and that wasn't their only problem. They lost Tom Brady, who's been their golden goose for years now. And then there's been some other holes. They still don't have a good tight end. Julian Edelman's starting to show his age. He's getting banged up. A lot of things happen. Cam Newton comes on a little late, has to get, prepared into this new team, this new culture. COVID-19 hits the team. That messes with them earlier in the season. Kind of lose some footing there. Edelman gets injured. So many things happened. It was just.
What was the record they finished at this year?
Is it 6-9? No.
Was it 7-9 or 6-10?
7-9.
Okay, let's say 7. So let's say you are a 7-9 NFL team out there, right? And you fired your coach, and Bill Belichick was available to come become your head coach. You would take him in a heartbeat, right?
Oh yeah.
So I'm in the same boat. I'll go with the Patriots. They got the greatest coach of all time. I remember when he was a DC with the Giants. I knew he was going to be good. Did I think he'd be this good? No, but he's going to fix this, is what I'm going to say. Cam Newton, I will look. John Carney on my show last year said before anybody else that Cam Newton was going to be a Patriot. Like before even people were talking about it, right? He predicted it. Cam Newton did not have a training camp this year.
No.
He's going to a very different system than he's been used to under. He was under Ron Rivera's system his whole career. So I think it's a very different coach he's going into. He did not have the benefit of a training camp, and he had a team that was in decline. The odds were against him. I think the Patriots will be back quicker than you think. I think so. I think Belichick's not done. He's gonna right the ship here.
They just needed more. They need more time. This year was an additionally difficult year with all of the non-football related issues that everyone had to deal with.
Totally. Yeah.
Tom signed with the Bucs like April?
It was right. I want to say it was right when COVID was really starting to hit, and they were shutting down sports.
Yeah.
That's when that story started hitting. So I want to say it was late March, early April.
So, because I think he had to wait until the deadline.
Yeah, that March 1st deadline. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he signed with Tampa Bay. So, for that, it's like that. He could have signed it. I took it as there was a lot of lost time, and time is very important. And there was a lot of lost time. Okay, now the Patriots got to go find somebody. They had to go find Cam Newton. And then they had to sign him, and then they had to get him going, and then they obviously everything was restricted, with COVID and the training camps and stuff like that. But still, a first year, learning a new system, like you said, that also takes into account for it too. You have to get into that mental space.
Yeah.
Tom also did that too with Tampa Bay.
Oh, he had an adjustment there, no question.
I think the first half of his season was a little. He finished it out strong. He's in the playoffs. We'll see where he goes with it. He's got a good Saints team. He's got a good Green Bay team. He's got to get through.
Yeah, that Green Bay matchup. If that happens in the next round, it's going to be one of the epic matchups.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone's going to count Tom Brady out in a playoff game in Green Bay.
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like people have the saying with playoff hockey. Like, well, playoff hockey is like a whole nother world.
Oh yeah.
It's the same thing with football. Specifically with Tom Brady. Tom Brady in the playoffs is not the Tom Brady in the regular season. If you thought Tom Brady was good in the regular season, you better buckle up because the playoffs, he turns it on, and he's in the zone. And when he's on his game and he's in the zone, he's good. Look at those Patriots years, the last couple of Super Bowl runs that he made. I mean, you just watch some of his gameplay, like in the playoffs especially. It's just like on point.
Yeah, I had no doubt in that Atlanta game that the Patriots were going to make a run in the fourth quarter at Atlanta. I had no doubt about it. Then when I saw Atlanta basically how bad a job they did managing the fourth quarter of that game, I became confident he was going to win that game. I mean,
yeah,
one of the great fourth quarter comebacks in the history of football. That was just epic what we saw that year. Atlanta was a good team that year. They weren't a bad team by any means.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that the playoffs will be interesting. The Super Bowl, we don't know what that's going to look like. There won't be anybody there, but it'll be exciting to see exactly how that gets put together. But the playoffs are looking good because there's some good teams, some good coaches, and good quarterbacks that are heading into this playoffs. Like we said, we got Green Bay, Saints, Tom and the Bucs. Chiefs are going to defend the title.
Yep.
Steelers are in there, although I don't know. I feel like the Steelers might have an early collapse. I feel like they're really losing their steam now.
Yeah, Buffalo's playing good.
Buffalo is a good one. And to be honest with you, not to cut you off,
no.
I would not be surprised if Buffalo won a Super Bowl this year. I would say if I had to pick like a team that kind of, I don't want to say they came out of nowhere, but if they came and won a Super Bowl, I'd be like, wow. That would be impressive.
And you look at that quarterback class from last year? Yeah, last year. Or 2 years ago. Actually, I think 2 years ago we're talking. Josh Allen is the best guy in that class he's become.
Yeah.
And I thought he had a lot of potential too. A lot of people question that pick with Buffalo. I thought it was a good pick when they made it. I'm not a big Sean McDermott fan as a head coach, but I don't think he's a bad. I mean, there's worse head coaches than Sean McDermott, is what I'll say. So we'll see what he can do in a big playoff game. That's what we'll have to see.
Absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I think it's going to be a great playoff run. It'll be fun to watch as a fan. It'll be fun to watch the different matchups and just how it all unfolds week to week. We got wild card weekend this weekend, and then next weekend's the divisional round, championship round, and then Super Bowl and so forth. So it's going to be a fun couple of weeks. I will say that it will be fun, even with no fans and with being different. It's still going to be some fun football to watch.
Yeah, it is. At least we got football on TV. We hope all the players stay healthy and safe. That's the goal. That's a whole debate sometimes how the NFL has handled that, but they pulled their whole season off. They did pull. Everyone played 16 games this year.
Yep.
So what people got sick, unfortunately, with that. So no one died, which is good. No one. I don't know any players that got hospitalized, so that was good.
Yep.
I could be wrong on that. So we have football going into January and February, so that's good news.
Yeah, hockey's starting with a shortened season.
I'm excited about hockey this year. Yeah.
Yeah, hockey's gonna be fun.
I'm a Flyers guy, so we had a little bit of a fluke. We kind of won that top seed last year in a weird circumstance. I didn't think we were going to the Cup last year. I thought Tampa was so good last year. They were playing well before the stoppage, but they started off horrible. You remember Tampa started out really bad last year, and
the Bruins were like the number one team in the NHL before the stoppage, and then we came back and it was.
Well, that was that weird play-in for the top 4 seeds, and the Flyers ended up winning that.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were better than Tampa or the Bruins that year. Yeah. So we went through a couple. We got to a couple of rounds with that. We got to a round actually. So I was happy as a Flyers fan. I'm looking forward to. I think this will be some great. Like everyone's playing the divisional rivals in the regular. It's gonna be a full season of divisional rivals, which we haven't seen something like that really ever. So it's going to be exciting hockey we're going to have. And I think there's going to be a lot of strange things. Hockey, when the playoffs happen in hockey, it's unpredictable. It's the best playoffs in the world.
Yeah. Nicole wants to hit on the giveaway that we're hosting. I forgot about this. I wanted to hit on this really quick before we end the show. Nicole, I'm going to throw it over to you.
All right. Sorry I was so quiet with sports, but that is not my forte. Is what it is. This week, we are hosting a Smokin Tabacco giveaway. It ends on Saturday. You can enter either through our Instagram page or through our Facebook page. We will have one grand prize winner, and they're going to win 15 different La Flor Dominicana cigars. So we have a Robusto selection, which has some Ligeros in here, both Natural and Maduro, the Airbender, the Lido Gomez, the Suave. We have the Toro selection with both double Ligero and regular Ligero in both Natural and Maduro, and an Airbender here. And then in this one, we have the Chisel selection, which is the double Ligero, the Cameroon Cabinet, the Coronado, and then Ligero, and another double Ligero in here. So 15 different LFD cigars. So that's part one. We also have a whole box of McAuliffe Vienda number ones that the winner will also get, as well as a full bottle of Eagle Rare Bourbon, which we don't have, and then some assorted Smokin Tabacco swag. Matthew's wearing a shirt and a hat. I have a hat. If you are female and you win, we have our Smokin Babe shirts, which we just launched in the store. But we obviously want to get someone's size, so we make sure everything is customized to our winner. But you will win all of that, and it closes on Saturday. And all you have to do is follow us on YouTube. If you're entering on Facebook, like our Facebook page, tag 3 friends, and on Instagram, follow us on Instagram, tag 3 friends. Entry.
That's a great prize. Like everyone who's listening to Smokin Tabacco, that's a fantastic prize. And all those cigars are fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great. And plus, you get some swag in it. It's a nice deal.
Yeah, we're really excited about this one. That's probably going to be one of our best giveaways yet. We've done some other giveaways with some cool stuff, but this is quite the package here. I mean, we were talking to Andy Yaffe from McAuliffe the other day. He was like, "Wait, one person didn't get all that? Wow, blown away!" And it's a nice one. We're excited for it, and I can't wait. I can't wait to see who gets it. It's gonna be a great time, and the swag too. which, you can head to smokintabacco.com/store, and you can check out our full collection of smoking tobacco products that we have. For men and for women, Nicole has her own Smokin' Babe line that is available in shirts, mugs, hats, stuff like that. It's all on there, so definitely check that out. So yeah, Saturday night, or maybe Sunday, we'll announce the winner, but Saturday night it ends. So yeah, check that out if you haven't seen it. And as always, subscribe on our YouTube channel. That's a big one. And with that, Coop, getting to the end of our show, buddy. I wish we had more. I wish we had more time.
I know. We could have went for 4 hours tonight, like me.
I know. You're one of those people. We could just keep on going. This is a great time. No, I like this. I like hanging out. I like talking.
Absolutely.
Happy to call you a friend now.
Absolutely.
You're a great guy. You've definitely you've given us some tips, as we come up through our ranks here, which we really appreciate. But no, we appreciate you coming on the show. Like I said, I know you're a busy guy, and we're happy that you made some time to come on the show with us. It was awesome. I'm gonna throw the floor to you, as I do with every guest. Anything you want to say? Any closing remarks? Anything you want to promote? The floor is yours.
No, appreciate it. I think folks, if you go to cigar-coop.com, all the podcasts, all the news reviews are out there. Our podcasts are available on all the podcast streamers and YouTube, so you can find that as well. The big thing that we have going on in Cigar Coop starts next week. Now that we're done with the list, is we're going to have the award season, and we give out 5 awards. It's voted by 3 members of the team every year, and the 5 awards are Person of the Year, Small Medium Company of the Year, and Large Company of the Year. We group Small Medium together, and we do the same with Factory: Small Medium Factory and Large Factory of the Year. The votes are in. We finalized the votes. I kind of certified the votes this week with the 3 of us. We actually use a very rigid process on doing that. So those are always exciting to give those awards out. The Person of the Year is the final one. That's announced on the 18th of January. So they start on the 12th. So we go 12th to 15th, take the weekend off, and then the 18th for Person of the Year. So that's always a fun time to give out those awards.
Very exciting.
Yeah, so we have that going on as well. So and then because I do the music and cigar show, I'm doing a countdown on there, but it's only 10 albums. So Dave, my partner on that show, just did the countdown for his 50 songs of the year. So he's doing the songs of the year. I'm taking a little bit of a different spin with albums of the year. It's a little bit of a different spin. So stay tuned. That will be on cigarjukebox.com, which is accessible from Cigar Coop. So we have fun doing that as well.
Yeah, you guys do a really good job over there. It's, every time I've caught an episode, it's always been fun. Like I said, I've always looked to you for information and all of that, in the past. So, hey, we appreciate you being in the industry too.
We do.
You're obviously a huge influence, and you're a great guy. Like I said, we're proud to call you a friend.
Well, you guys are friends. I really look forward to even getting to know you all better. Like I said, I've learned a lot from you guys, and I think, like I said, cigar media needed a brand like Smokin Tabacco, and I mean this sincerely. It's not just on the show. We needed a brand like Smokin Tabacco, and what you guys have accomplished in less than a year has been probably one of the best first years I've seen of any brand. And I know you guys are gonna be here for a long time, so I'm proud to do that. I'm sure we'll be all doing shows together from time to time, and keep up the great work and just do what you're doing. You'll evolve. We all learn as we go along, and I think there's a lot still to come for you guys. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the kind words, Coop. That means a lot.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's definitely something we care a lot about. So we work really hard on it. So we don't do it for the acclaim, but we appreciate the good words and the compliments. I mean that sincerely.
Oh, you're welcome.
That's really awesome stuff. But you hang tight. But we are going to wrap the show. Nicole, is there anything else you want to throw out there before we end the show?
Nope, just enter in this lovely contest if you haven't already.
We also have something else coming up.
And on Friday, we're going to be we're going to be introducing Orlando Perez as our newest contributor to Smokin Tabacco. We will be interviewing him at 8 p.m. This Friday night. So tune in if you want to meet Orlando. He has his own podcast, which is just starting out, called Juxtaposed Cigars. He does mini podcasts. They are 5 to 10 minutes long. So it's not a long show by any means. He also has the Orlando Perez Show, which talks about real estate, since he is a very experienced real estate agent. So he has two different podcasts. Real estate agent. I know he might shoot me after, but he is fabulous, and he will be hopping in, especially as we do more herfs with our own Smokin Tabacco community, hopping on the show from time to time and things like that. He is a great person, and you guys will be meeting him more. So
yeah, more of Orlando to come, and even for the Orlando haters. Excuse me.
No, he's a great guy. He's a great guy. Great acquisition for your brand. He's a good guy. I think he's a good acquisition for you guys.
Yeah, we're excited. He's a lot of fun. He's a lot of fun. He brings a smile to our face.
I've gotten to know him for you guys as well, and the McAuliffe group, and yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see you guys on Friday night, and then after that, we'll see you next Wednesday. And other than that, Smoky guys, take care.
Bye.